Well, so let me try and build and weave a few thoughts here with that and see where we want to explore next. The first insight, as I listen to what you are both describing, from the trace of the last 60, 70 years of the computing revolution, the advent of the internet and so on, is we are observing non-linear progressions. It appears as though nothing much is going on, and then something seems to disrupt in a major way, and there are all sorts of developments, and that opens a new set of opportunities, and so on. So my first observation is it's non-linear. The second observation is what Peter Drucker, who used to be the founder of the management system, observed, what I later, through the lens of my Air Force experience, I call the undershoot-overshoot problem. Peter Drucker observed that with all new technologies, we overshoot our expectations and they underdeliver in the first wave. Then we become cynical about the promise of the technology, and therefore we swing to the other side. We don't think they will deliver much, and right when we lost interest, they over-deliver. By the way, that corresponds with what we understand to be bull and bear markets. In stock market or in any category, it's the inverse relationship of those two vectors in terms of our expectation of how a category will perform versus what it performs in the real world. When I came to the first landing practice in the Air Force, what did I do? I produced a scary undershoot. If there wasn't an instructor sitting behind me, we would crash in the sand half a mile before the runway. But luckily, there was somebody sitting behind me, threw the throttle forward, and we went around and came for another approach to landing. What did I do in that second approach? I produced an extraordinary overshoot, and halfway over the runway, I get a scream in my ear, "Are you still trying to land here?" Because I'm way far above the runway. So we humans seem to be struggling with the perception that we have until we get trained. You get trained, you do this many times, and you actually get to experience the descent to the runway to corresponds well with your perception of how you navigate in this three-dimensional or four-dimensional picture. So in a similar way, for us, we seem to struggle with appreciating where we are with the evolution of technology, and why this is relevant to this moment in time, because people overpromised about the delivery of AI for, as you said, Albert, for 60 years. In my work today with leadership teams in Seattle, in Silicon Valley, I hear that perhaps we have entered that inflection point where it is about to over-deliver. But I've been hearing this for a while, for several years, so this is why I'm interested. Are we there? Are we not? And what do people actually promise that is going to be delivered? So give us, Albert, some appreciation of, again, where we are this moment in time, and what are the questions that we are looking at this point?
Excellent. I enjoy both your comments. We are at the start of the inflection point. I don't think we will over-deliver anymore. It's getting serious, partly for two reasons, really. One is the advance of robotics, especially humanoids, which brings the intelligent program that we created sitting on a computer really into the real world. And sadly, the warfare will push the technology further. And the second thing is really the breakthrough on data. Interestingly, data comes to the rescue to AI, which is like data is, if you remember, Star Trek has the data. the incredible robot called Data, the intelligent robot. So with data and data mining, it eliminates the problem of putting knowledge into the computer and allow them to use it in incredible manner that makes the programs very useful. And hence what we see many technology now are using data mining, especially, for example, the driving car, self-auto driving car, and other things. So with this catapult up to this level, I think the inflection point is real this time.
So in the other side of my life where I work with senior executives, I interviewed just in the last few weeks for my business podcast 3 CEOs in the Seattle area, each one of whom they are each leading an AI, different kind of an AI company. One is leading an AI endeavor to automate factories. That's that vision that you will not need people to run the factory. Sometimes they call it dark factories. They will work by themselves. So he's building with his team a solution to solve that problem. A second company is looking to convert, with the help of AI, a way to translate educational experiences into economic opportunities, to essentially guide people better in a smarter way into their professional careers. And the third company is trying to use 3 different kind of AI applications to discover and analyze resonance of video content. So I've asked each one of them in different words about the frontier of AI. This is just in the last few weeks. And each one in different words said to me what you are telling me, that largely AI is still a high velocity pattern recognition kind of an engine. And that it is still not where they are engaged with AI, still not seriously approaching what you were both describing as more of the intuitive human capacity to perceive in space, to create engagement, to flow with the conversation. So 2 questions here. Is it true, or are we actually pressing into the intuitive, creative space? And if yes, in what way? And let me actually pause this and see how you respond to that.
Well, I would ask the question, do we want AI to do that?
Well, I should have said, obviously in the context of what I described, these are 3 endeavors where they find legitimate, what they will rightly describe as a genuine market opportunity, an unsolved problem, an unmet need, using AI to address that need, thereby to create economic value. We're here more in a philosophical exploration about AI and the frontiers of that development. So this is why I'm asking you, how do you comment on this? And you begin with this question.
So inside the question that I asked is another question,
Yes.
right? And the question is, for what purpose do we construct these apparently intelligent programs, right? Because let's not forget that ultimately we as a species are very good, and this is one of the things that Albert mentioned earlier about, what is it that makes humanity, right? And these, Ryle gave us some definitions in the 1920s and 30s, that erect stature, we walk on two legs, that we have a mind that thinks, and so on, right? And that we are able to make tools. And when you put all of those things together, this is how he defined humanity, right? The essence of human being. And so the apparently intelligent machines that we've made are themselves tools. So the question is, are we seeking to make these things replications of humanity?
Let me go back to answer Abby's question, and then I would like to go back to address yours. Your three executives were right. The difference that they didn't point out or may not realize is that because we are able to do so much now with AI in terms of data mining and robotics, as opposed to the past few phases, we created very large corporations which are very powerful. Now, in the past, we depend on the people in the ivory tower to do the research and then try hard to sell it to the business people. And they were very skeptical. And even if they try, sometimes they try, and as you pointed out, that they failed. And therefore, you have this overshoot and undershoot. But now we have this huge corporation. We do not need to depend, and we are not selling. They are having large amount of money to do it. So, for example, we now have people who are working very hard on emotional robots. We have people who are working on brain interface with the robots. So while at the moment, yes, there is limitation to the data mining and to the use of data, as Professor Andrew Ng pointed out in an article to the business people about the limitation of machine learning and article. We are not really doing learning when they use machine learning, okay? But because of this huge profit and huge corporation, and now they are actually hiring all these experts into one place to create the thing that they want to. For example, going to space. They can go on their own without the government. This is the turning point, which then created, which I call the inflection point, and created the intelligent being, even though we are not there yet.
So the question was, is it really our intent to replicate humanity within the machine context?
Right. Oh, wow. It's our intent to do so. Personally, I don't think we have a choice. And here lies the danger I talked about at the beginning. Now, we don't have a choice because we are thrusting forward. It's just like you're in a rocket. I mean, you're just the passengers in the rocket. The rocket will go forward. And the answer to your question will be very complicated, because while we do not intend to do so, and there are now AI researchers awakened to the danger of AI. Well, not everybody agrees, but quite a lot of them are agreeing to the danger of AI. There was a letter being circulated around in the internet that asked us to sign to say that we want to have friendly AI. We must create friendly AI and not otherwise. After signing the paper, the government, I think DABA, whatever, offer huge amount of money for some military AI thing, and a lot of people sign up for that grant. Oh, well, that's a side story. But the danger here is, to me, that they are creating these powerful machines, as I keep saying. And I keep saying that they are not intelligent at all. They are simply fast and powerful, despite we keep calling them artificial intelligence. If you look at AI, they're all about applications. So I coined up a term called artificial intelligence, or artificial intelligence, where there's a capital A and a little I, and a little a and a capital I. The capital A, little I is what most people are doing. They're only interested in the artificial bit. They're not interested in the question of intelligence. Whereas the little a, capital I, is the intelligent bit where we are interested in the question of intelligence. Now the trouble is, do we intend to create this thing? No, we don't intend, but they keep creating these things, which means that these machines will be more powerful, and they will, I believe, one day take over the world. Now, the problem with that is not that they take over and kill us. That is to be expected in the near future, or as part of, or not part of, even in the near future, if we continue like this. The problem is that they literally create a machine to take over us. Now, that to me is problematic. An analogy here is like, we think we are smart. We have this forest, rainforest. Because we can create some chemicals, we say that we can burn down the whole forest. We don't care. And we destroy a lot of things inside the forest. The great things inside the forest that we haven't discovered. We destroy everything, thinking that we know how to do everything. Same thing with machines intelligence, is that we create machine intelligence take over us without understanding how we have evolved to be that intelligent. Now that knowledge is lost once the humanity is destroyed. And that is the sad thing. Not because we are killed, but that knowledge is lost. My kind of is to understand how the mind could become so intelligent. How did we evolve to this level? Now, if we get that knowledge and put it into the machine, now I claim that we have evolved by jumping across the species from biological to metallic. Now that is good because it's part of evolution. I mean, the dinosaurs died and we didn't cry because we was destroyed. So that's the danger. It's not intent, but we cannot control it. But at the same time, I can see the dark side of it. It's so dark that humanity, our knowledge of evolution is just completely lost without destroying. We have the opportunity now to discover it. We have the knowledge, we have the skill. But sadly, very few ask that question. They're all busy CEOs of the companies. There are no researchers now. Really, seriously asking this question. Very few.